Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here with another Scrap Your Scrap Thursday night. Tonight we're going to be doing something totally different. In the store that I work at, we got in a bunch of these DIY snow globes, and I've been playing around with different ways to create things with them. One of the things that I did for Scrap Fest was I created a three-dimensional porthole, and so you'll see that there's a whale that sits at the very back of the porthole, and then I've 3D'd by printing the background twice and cutting out this kind of coral reefy stuff and pop dotted that, and then I've used acetate to bring a different whale closer to the front of the porthole, and then I've created acetate to bring these clownfish even closer. So there's lots of dimension in this. You can't really see it in my picture. The sample itself is at Papercrafters if you're wanting to go to the store in Stouffville, Ontario, and you can see it live there. But basically this is sort of what my first idea was for doing something different than a snow globe. Today, I am going to show you how I'm going to turn the snow globe into a clock. I have a great nephew coming in July, and I want to make him a Winnie the Pooh clock. And of course, I love the new Winnie the Pooh Baby line. And so I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this clock. Now, I have not done one before. I have done quite a bit of thinking about it, and I have done a little bit more of it than I normally would do in one of my lives, but I had to make sure it was actually going to work before I did the live. So it will work. I just have to walk you through the different things that I've done. What I did first of all to figure out what kind of mechanism I need is I wasn't as concerned about the thickness of this part of the clock mechanism, but it was more the depth of this that was important to me, because the amount of space you have on the inside of the clock is exactly 10/16. So you need to make sure that you're getting a mechanism where this section, I think the one I have is, it doesn't tell me here, I think it's 3 millimeters. Well, why don't I measure it? It is 3 millimeters in length, in height. And then you want to make sure that you get the smallest possible hands for it, because the space that you have available for envisioning the hands and also seeing the numbers is approximately 2 inches, or I'm going to say 4.5 centimeters. So you want to make sure your second hand, if you're using a second hand, is no longer than 4 centimeters. You could have 4.5 centimeters if you really wanted to push it, and that is more or less the same as 1 3/4 inches for your longest hand, and that's usually the second hand. If you have a second hand, then you can. If not, then you can go longer in the minute hand. All right, so I will talk more about that afterwards. I did get this off of Amazon, and if you want the link, I'm happy to share with you. I don't normally share Amazon stuff because I don't do a lot of crafting with anything off Amazon, but this is like a different game with the clock mechanism. So what I did is I took the back off my snow globe, and it's a round circle. So I did my best using my mat here to get the center of my circle. I am off, and I'm okay with that, and I'll show you why. Because this has part of the clock face goes down inside, and you don't see it. So what I'm doing to figure out where I actually want this to be sitting in the back of this, and you have to be kind of gentle to squeeze that in. There we go. I just am moving it around until I see where it's not too far off, but it's far off enough that I don't like it. And so I am just moving it around until I find it in a position that pleases me. Don't like that. And then I'm going to just put a mark on the back indicating where I need to line it up. No, I don't even like that. So this is the part that takes the longest, is because I am very fussy. Okay, I'm going to do that. So what I'm going to do is, with my pencil, I'm just going to put a line. It doesn't have to be centered or anything, but the two pieces, I know when I'm done, have to align. Okay, the two little lines have to align. Not there, not there. I want it aligning there. So once I get my paper on it, on the background, and figure out that part of it, I'll know where the background is needing to sit. And the nice thing about this is it kind of moves freely once you put it on the back. I probably will put some glue to keep it sturdy, but until I get the paper on it and everything that I need and the outside done, I am not going to play around with that too much. So the main focus for me is to change this in some way, because I don't really like the black. If you have looked at any of the Winnie Pooh Baby stuff, let me just bring out something that has all the colors. There is black in it, but I just don't feel like that's a baby's room. So I probably will sand this down and change the color a little bit. I don't know if I'll do that in the video today, because I do want to show you the whole making of the actual clock. This might just happen after the fact and you'll see the finished image in the video. But we'll see. We'll see how much time. I don't want to keep you here forever. I know that sometimes my videos can be long, and that's why I speed up parts of it. So these are all the kind of color lines that I would like to include. Now, in terms of what I'm putting around the outside, I have a washi tape, and I think that that's the easiest way to go. So I have this really pretty washi tape that matches one of the papers inside, and my plan is to glue it down, of course. So I am going to have the outside built up with this washi tape, and I'm just going to match it side to side and make sure it's glued down nice and tight. I'm going to create circles to make the frame on the outside here. I'm not going to worry about the inside being white on either of these. I'm going to leave that white, and then I have to figure out what I'm going to do here, because this part, I do not want it to be too fussy, because you need to see the numbers. All right, so let me pull out some papers. So this is our starting point. So I want to have coordinating with this washi tape, I want to have a coordinating simple outline and simple background. It can say something, it can have images on it, but it just can't be super patterned, because some of these, there's too much going on. You know, like that would not be a great pattern, because it would be conflicting with the actual numbers and things. I'm just going to put this aside. One of the things I did think about was having some kind of a message in it. The problem with messages, again, they are, I'll show you how I measured everything as well. They can be, well, see, it doesn't quite fit, and I don't really like the idea of adding color in a straight line when I've got a circular thing going on. So I don't know, we'll have to see what happens. I like the background of that, but I also think that that might be a bit of a challenge when everything else is this color. And this is the easiest way to handle going around the outside, because paper you can put around the outside, but you really have to glue it well. And I'm just afraid that over time it would lift up. Now all these little bitty bits of things, I might cut out a poo and add it. I don't need all these bitty bits of things that have no real purpose. That's a nice plain background, but I think that might be a little bit boring. So I'm not sure about that, so we'll keep that aside. I'm not sure about this. That's a nice big piece. I think I want to keep it for a project. You know, I can put messages inside. Now I could take some little critters and use them for the numbers. And this to me isn't going to work because I'm going to be putting a hole right into the center of it. So all the message is going to be lost. So that won't work. And just have that part of it. But I know I have some things that are pre-cut that would manage, I could manage those with. Some of these are going to be an awkward shape to try and get them cut properly. So I'm just kind of going through. Now this I thought was kind of a fun one because you can have it sort of off to the side. So the center hole is right there. And that could work as a background, but then I'd have to figure out what I'm doing with the rest. So, but I do have stickers and things as well. Now there is a piece, one of the papers I really love, and I was very tempted to use this around the outside. If I'll show you measurements later, because it was so vibrant. You know, I can just imagine that being around the outside. But I'm just worried about that, you know, that the whole idea of it not staying stuck. Well, maybe I'll hang on to it. I'm not completely sold on this. I also have a 48 paper pack, but I want to make a mini album for my brother because it's his first grandson. These are mostly too big. I do have other washi tapes as well. So you are seeing this from the onset. Normally I have a little bit more going on by the time you and I get together. And here's the sticker pack. So in here we have somewhere, we have, you know, numbers at the bottom there. So those are something I can use. And I have a couple of different colors to choose from in that. So we'll pull that one out. And I have it, I'm afraid that this is just going to be too crazy if I put that as my circle. So this is what it would look like. That's a little too much. I do have this, but he's a boy, so I'm thinking that might be a little too light. And I know I'm genderifying things at the moment. I'm trying to be neutral. So there's that other plaid. It's the same as the washi, but bigger. I'm just feeling that it might be too much. Now this is really making it gender specific. And then there's the green that I have left. So if I have the green, I know that there are yellow letters and they will pop. Okay, so I hit my my mouse and the camera just got me down. So in the time that I was watching what I'd already created, just to make sure that I didn't repeat myself, I decided that to pull out a bunch of little things that I can mess around with. So I did go into my 48 paper pack. I hope I'm not going to regret it, but I'm looking at a few options here. So there is a bunch of these little dots, both in sticker and in proper form, and I feel like they get lost. Like if I use those for my number bases, they don't really show up on that. I also have this yellow piece, which is plaid, and I kind of like that because that's bright and cheerful. And if I'm using that piece of paper that has the stripe on it, it goes quite well with that. and it's not super gendered. And then I got the smaller of that piece that I liked, but it was just a little bit too big, and I think the smaller it looks better. Now let's just throw a couple of these in there and see if you can see them. You can see them. They're very... I might just stick with the whatever color of the numbers I use from the kit. And then the other option was to just forget about it and go complete craziness. Here's how I'm going to work this out. I am going to lay these all out, and I've picked out some little sayings that I want some kind of word inside the frame. Well, I'll do 3 and then something like that. So I've got a bunch of stuff. So I've got Precious Little One, which I can actually put a hole in the center of and have the arms come out, and you will, as the arms move around, be able to see this saying because there's a break in the center. So that was kind of fun. So I could go here. It still shows up there. Gets kind of lost on that one. So that's one option. And then I have Peekaboo, which I can put... I have a ton of these guys that I can put at the bottom of the frame. So I have that can go in the center with the arms coming out. I have this that can go near the bottom but still have room for the numbers on either side. I have this that can do the same thing. Thinking this is too much pattern. So let's see if we open up that pattern a little bit. That's a bit better. Okay. And then I have all these other options. So You Are My Sunshine, even the smallest changes. So we've seen these. I kind of am gearing towards that one. I'll trim the white down a little bit. Once in a While, Hello Baby. I'm just seeing how they're going to look. Wouldn't put white on white. Dream Big Little One, which is kind of fun because, you know, you're dreaming. So this one, ignore this one for a minute. This one can go, I can put the hole through the upper part of the white and put numbers in the corners. It might cover up. Let's just move this over. Might cover up what's going on in there. But that's nice, crisp, and clean. So I'm going to keep that to one side until we kind of figure everything out. The other thing is we can do our Pooh, and this could be Dream Big Little One, and then we have our numbers around the outside and our center piece happening there. You will not see this black bit. That disappears behind. So imagine it all white. That one would work, and I don't mind that. That's actually good. Another one I could put there would be, again, that would work. So these guys are working. Precious Little One I like as well. Now this is bigger, but I can put the numbers in the hole and still have the sentiment. So that one would work as well. These guys are working. Those papers are working. Or I can just go here to the yellow. I don't know that I like this. I'm going to put that aside. Now we're down to these two guys. Now let's look at which ones I was favoring. Precious Little One actually is not going to work so well on this paper because it will take away all the Winnie the Poohs. So Precious Little One actually does better over here. Brings the greens out. The Poohs will still show up. Totally, I'm liking this. Not liking the boring one. Okay. I don't like Precious One on there. I do like this on there. We also have the Dream Big little one. I just wound that down. We are using this paper in the back. We are using this as the sentiment. The other sentiment I liked was here, this Tiny but Mighty. But I think I'll save that one for a different project. Yes. Okay, so these can all go back. The other one I was thinking that's kind of cool is this one, because this is the map, but it's off color. Nope, we're sticking to this. Okay, so we have some things happening, and this will go around the outside, and then we'll kind of play with what we're going to do with numbers. So the first thing we did, I think that you saw me line up these bits. I just haven't shown you how I measured things. In terms of measuring things, especially around the outside, now this is going to be short. But I think I can squeeze it in. And if I glue it right to the edge, then I just have to worry about the front surface. And what am I going to put on the, so I'm going to have to make some circles. That's a definite thing. And I need my circle maker, and I need my mat, my cutting mat. Now I'm not worried about the circle one so much that goes on the inside, because I can literally just trace. I have to decide if I'm going to put a blue balloon in the center, and I'm just going to trace this. I was saying that this measurement was, oh, I have it on the back of my, so what I did is I measured a bunch of things. I measured the width of this, and it was just slightly over an inch. So I made it an inch and 1/16 so that I can trim it back from this side, and it will fit perfectly. Then I measured the distance across. At the widest part is 5 inches in both directions, obviously, except this direction down here is, you would have to cut that off. And I measured this width here, and that was 3/8 of an inch exactly. And then the interior is 4 3/16 of an inch, which is slightly smaller than this piece here. And then I did the circumference to figure this out, and it was 12 5/16, which is why that 12-inch piece of paper is just slightly short. But I think I can MacGyver it, because I left a bit of the zip strip on, and I think I have enough that it will just look like a white ending, just like this one has a white ending, blue and white ending. So I think I can make it work. Now, I'm going to start with the back, and I've already got this traced, so I just need to figure out what halfway is. It looks to me to be 1, 2, 3, 4.5 inches. So I am going to find that halfway point, and I can trim it back if I need to, because it's actually going to sit behind a little bit on the frame. My Pooh background. So let me erase a couple of things, because I can see that center dot. And I can see some outline around the edge where I wasn't quite as accurate as I had hoped. It's all good. And now before I even begin, I have to remember that that's the point at which everything has to line up. So I have to be, just gonna draw the line here, and I'm going to make sure that that is my center point. And now I'm going to glue this down. So before I go any further, I have to sand this a tiny bit. So I've got one of those Tim Holtz sander thingies, and I'm just going over the background, putting a little bit of texture on there so the glue has something to cling to, because this is made out of melamine, and melamine is historically slippery. So if you want to paint it or you want to glue things to it, you have to make sure that you have everything lined up. You know what? I'm going to do it on a skinny line. It's a little easier. This is the part that is important. There is that. Okay. Now, I'm going to be using some 450 glue. It gives me just a little bit of time, because it's nice and thick, to be able to move things around if I need to. And I'm going to go right up to the edge, because that's what we want to have stick. I'm going to leave an opening for my fingers, because I have to line this right up. So it's all going north and south. There we go. And this allows me to just move it a little bit if I find that I've come off the edges. Now here I need a little more glue. This is thick stuff, so it does take a little bit of pushing right up to the edges. There we go. Now, here is the test. And it looks good. So that is perfect. That worked out very well. Now I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I've got some damage down here when I shoved it in. So we're going to leave that alone. And I'm just going to put a cross here, because I know that this is the size. I drilled this hole myself with a hand drill. So there's nothing special about it. You just hammer the piece, the screw in to mark your spot. Then you take your drill and you use that little divot to put your drill in so that it catches, and then you drill it down. All right, there we go. There's our hole. Now I'm just gonna tidy it up. I'm hoping that I managed to get some glue around this part, but it won't matter because the actual hands and everything in the washer will keep it down. There we go. And there is our hole. So the next thing you do is you get your mechanism, and you want your battery on the bottom, and we have our line up at the top there so we know where the top is. And we're going to plop our mechanism in sort of aligned with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then the next thing we're going to be adding to that is the washer. So this rubber washer, I'm getting a clock lesson here. This rubber washer goes, underneath here. So it gives some pressure. And then, so this is the brass plate washer, and then your hex washer, and that's how you're going to tighten it up. But first we have to glue it. So let's get some glue. The only thing you're probably going to have to replace is the hands and the battery, so you can really give it a good glue. All right. Now this is going to go on top. You want your battery to be at the bottom, and your mark that is the top to be up at the top. And then we're just going to hold that. There's my top mark right there. Just going to hold that for a minute. And now we're going to put our gold hex and our hex. tighten it nicely. And there we have it. It's all put together. Woo! Okay. Then the next step is you have to put your hour hand on first. And they do snap in, but you got to be careful because these little guys are very, very bendable. And you want to keep them absolutely straight. There we go. And we're going to put these guys on. Sorry, I need to take that off. It's got to be pointing to 12. They all have to start pointing to 12. There we go. Like I said, you can take them off. You just got to be super careful not to bend them. So 12 is going to be up this way. I'm going to look for my mark at the side just to make sure that I've got it going in the right direction. And now we pushed it down. Then I put my minute hand in the same direction. Push it down. And then my second hand just has a little cap and it just goes in the center. And you just make sure everything's secure. There we go. So we're all lined up. Now let's see if it works. Where's the battery? Make sure you have the positive and the negative in the right place. Oh, now see, that wasn't good. My glue wasn't solid, so I put pressure on it, but it's all right. I can move it back. Nothing got ruined. All right. So I just have to remember that when I push this guy in, I have to be gentle. Maybe I'll go that way. There we go. Woo! And it works. That is so awesome. Okay. And we'll change the time later, but we wanted to check to make sure that everything was working. There we go. Just going to take that out, leave that, because we still have to do the numbers. In this little package, if you were not going to use the second hand, it gives you a different little finishing for just if you're using the minute and the hour hand. So, but we don't need that. We'll put that in our little extras. As the great nephew grows up, I can change the theme of the clock. So when he goes to regular school, I can make it, you know, a SpongeBob clock or whatever I have available to me in terms of crafting material. All right. I don't think we need you anymore. Now we got to do, we'll do the finishing of that. We'll just let that dry. Now let's work on this guy. So I need to have this. So I'm going to do this part first. Now I used a piece of random string, which I can use for anything, and I measured the distance that I have. So when I measured this out, my figure came to 12 and 5/16. I measured that, and then I put this against a ruler, and it measured 12 and 5/16. So that's how I got the measurement of that. So now what I have to do is I have to cut this down, but I've got to have 12 and 5/16. So I'm going to do the back side. So this is 12. I like rulers that go right to the edge. This is 12, and then I just have to go 5/16. So 2, 4, 5/16. And we'll do that up at the top. 5/16. Actually, I'm going to go over. So if you look what I'm doing, I'm lining up with the edge of this. And it doesn't matter where I go. I just count off 5/16. 2, 4. Oh, I got the light in my eyes. 2, 4, 5/16 is there. And again, down here, 2, 4, and 5/16. And I'm just going to draw a line so I can see what I'm actually cutting. There we go. And hopefully it's going to work out. There we go. Oh, it's just a little bit big, but let's retrofit it and see what happens. If I put that there and draw that around, so if I put that right on the edge and draw this around, I don't think anybody's going to notice that down there. I can put some white out on it if I want. I think we're going to be okay. So again, we're going to need our heavy duty glue that gives us a little bit of time right up to the edge. What did I forget to do? I forgot to sand. Oh, because it's not going to want to stay on there. Unfortunately, I do have to sand. So, get my sander out, rough it up a little bit. That's what happens when you have wet glue. It kind of ruins your sanding. All right, I'm going to try that again. Right along both edges, making sure you get it all glued. Okay. Now I'm going to start with the good side, and I am just going to put it right up to the edge and make sure it stays along that edge all the way down. So running my finger along that edge to really push it down. And I'm just going to wipe off anything that's excess because this glue kills up once it's dry. And now let's double check, make sure it's nicely along the edge there. And we're just going to rub off any excess. Make sure our bottoms are pushed in nicely. And then I'm going to trim the excess that's on the back here. So get my X-Acto, make the cut so I can trim easily. Get my fussy cutting scissors because they're my sharpest scissors. I'm going to have to use the X-Acto to get it nice and clean. Pull that guy out a little. So now my X-Acto is just going to go in and straighten out anything I missed. There we go. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with this little hook. Nope, there we go. So that gave it a nice smooth edge all the way around. X-Acto knives are awesome. When they're used properly, they can also be very destructive. We'll have to do some cleaning of the inside in a while. Okay, now I do have some glue here, so I'm just going to scrape that off gently using the X-Acto. Make sure there's nothing else impeding because we're putting a top on that. All right, now I measured the outer edge to be 5 inches, so I need to make a 5-inch circle. Now what am I going to use? So if I have this and this, I want to have what color? I've got brightness happening everywhere. I can do anything. I can continue that stripe. I can add a totally different color. Whoops. I can add green around the outside edge. What is this guy? Oh, I forgot to put him in. So, we forgot to put this guy on. We do have to put him on. The back looks like it's nicely glued. So we're just going to go in and lift. There we go. So you just want to make sure that you straighten it if you've gotten it unstraightened. Whoop. They do come off rather easy. There we go. And now this guy can just unscrew. And this guy can just unscrew as well. All right. So we need to make sure that this is going to go on pointing to the top. All right. And we want to have that so that it's visible. I have like 1/8 of an inch, so I don't want it to go too low. And I think if I cut, so I'm going to make a small Y cut here, very small V cut, sorry, just so I can see how this is going to play out. I want to be 1/8 of an inch from the bottom, so that puts me there. So I'm just going to cut a little bit more. There we go. And is that straight? I think. Just going to check with my ruler. What I'm trying to see is if the point of the words is straight. So this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to lay a piece of string in what I think is parallel. There. I think that will do it. So now I'm going to glue one side and then I'm going to glue the other side. Oh. And I have to make sure that I take any excess glue off, and it just rolls off in little balls. I think that's okay. I think that will do. All right. Pushing it out. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Now let's put that mechanism back on. Everything looks like it's going to clear. There. All right. I think that's going to go fine. Awesome. All right. So we're doing this again. Get our cutting mat. And what color am I going to use? So we need to have it be big enough, and this is too big. Okay, so I'm literally going to trace the outside because that's what we want, is the outside, right? And let's trace that properly. I'm going to hand cut it, but I got to get this other side in there. Make sure this is all lined up. Wrong side. All right. So I'm just going to cut this freehand. The outside edge we can always trim away, and we can do that with the inside edge too. So I'm not worried about being exact because I have an X-Acto knife. I just have to make sure I can get it on in the right place. So, and I have to remember that it needs trimming here. Okay. So I am going to trim just slightly bigger. And see what happens. Okay, I need a little more off. And I need it nice and straight. That's the thing that's not happening here. There we go. There we are. And let's make sure that that looks good. Perfect. All right. Okay, I am going to glue this on. Here's my thinking. I'm going to glue this on. I'm going to let it dry. Then I'm going to poke a hole in the center and do one of those, you know, pie slices things and use my X-Acto knife to cut it accurately around the edge. And then I'm going to finish the edge the same way I did with this one, with the X-Acto knife. So I think that's my plan. I'm going to make sure we get some glue right up to these edges. We do not want things, we don't want glue on the glass, however. And I got little bits of webby things happening here, but we'll clean those after. All right, smushing it right to the edge, making sure that it goes right in there. Push it all out, making sure we're right into the edge there. Now we're going to leave that for a couple of minutes, and we're going to come back to this one, and we're going to start putting our numbers in. So let me get the numbers out. I think I have two colors I can use. I can use green, and I can use yellow. I'm just going to put 11. I'll put a 1 here for now, and then let's find the yellow, and the other choice is that color. So which do I like? I think I like the green better, but it's going to get lost down here. Could I do alternating? A green, a yellow, and a green, something like that. I could do that. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. All right, so I have to build some things here, because I'm going to start with the yellow, and we need to make it a 12. And I have a feeling that this is just going to be a little too big side by side. So we might have to take some space out between them. Do you see how wide that is? So I am going to, straight as I can, I am going to take the same amount out of each. Now I just need a little piece of scrap paper. I want to put my 12 on there. So there's my 12. It's still a little bit too big, so I'm going to trim it, but I'm going to use my trimmer to trim it so it's nice and square. Because I need more off on this side than I do on that side. So first of all, let's just get this trimmed. A little bit more. There we go. And trimmed here. Good. And now I am going to take off about that much to start. Trying to keep it. Oh, I need a little bit more. How does that look? That looks much better. I can actually pop these just a little bit. So I'm going to get my thin pop dots. This thin pop dot. I think I want to trim just a tiny bit more. There we go. And I'm going to take some off the bottom. And then some more off the side. Whoop. It's a challenge. There we go. That looks better. And then a tiny bit off the top here. There we go. And how does that look? That looks awesome. So that's going to go there. And I can pop it a little bit. So all my double numbers are going to have to be similar to this in size. So I'm going to start with my double numbers. So we've got 12, and then we need green 11, which means I'm going to have to dig into my second and third. This is green. I've got one there. Find my next green. There we are. This is 11. Ooh, I may not have it. So 11, no, 10 is going to be the second one of that with a 0. Okay, that'll work. It'll all work. Woo! It's frightening. All right, so I am going to put this right at the edge here because I found it much easier just to play with that little tail of paper. So let's just get this lined up. Oh, it's too big. I forgot. Got to take that off first. So we're going to do that. And stick this down on the paper. I've got one trimmed. And then I've got to trim this one. There we go. Take that out. Now I got to get it down. Ooh, good eyeballing. You notice the numbers are different, but that doesn't bother me. So this has ended up being approximately a 1/2 inch square. So that's awesome to know. So we are going to take that much off of there. That much off of there. That looks pretty good. And then a tiny bit off the top. Tiny bit off the bottom. There we go. So there's my 11. And now I need to do my 10, which is a yellow, the second yellow one, and a 0. So I've already got my trim lines. All right. So this is going to be trimmed off. There we go. And this, oh, I don't want to trim that off just yet, is going to be trimmed. That doesn't look straight. There we go. There we go. I want to trim it this way just a little bit. There we go. And then we have our 1/2 inch here. There we go. And there's our 10. Ooh, just could squeak that in. And then we have the 9, the 8, the 9. Oh, my 2 in yellow is gone. That's going to be in, my 1 is gone as well. So this did not work out. How can I fix it? 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So 2 needs to be this color. And I'm pretty sure I don't have, oh, wait a minute, 3, 2, it's just 1 I don't have. My 1s are all gone here. You know what? I can use an I for a 1. 1. Perfect. There we go. We got it all handled. Oops. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. I managed to figure that one out. That is scary. Now, I'm going to put the 12 at the top, but first I want to put a little pop dot underneath. And I'm just putting a super skinny pop dot. We don't want it to stand up too much, but we want to raise it from the background. So now I'm going to put I have to remember I have 1/8 of an inch down, and I want to line it up with the text, the bears. Is that about right? There we go. There's 12. Now 6 is more than 1/2 inch wide, so I'm just going to grab some of this. I'm going to keep it its width, but I'm going to make sure it's 1/2 inch tall. And some off at the bottom. Oops, I did that very, very crooked. There we go. And then some off the bottom. Oh, come on. There we go. There we go. Okay, anyway. There's getting extra paper off. Get my pop dots. And number 6 is going to go right under there. There we go. Number 3 is the next one. I'm just going to grab some of that paper we had. Okay, and we're going to make it 1/2 inch. So I need to trim this a bit. Number 3. And number 9 is next. Okay. Needs to be 1/2 inch. Okay. And 1/2 inch. There we go. And there's number 9. And then number 9 goes over here. There we go. About the same distance. This might be a bit further apart. All right. Then we have number 1. I'm fast forwarding this section because it's the basic same principle as what I've done with the other numbers. I'm not going to push this one down. I'm just going to let it sit there for a minute, because I want to get the 2 so we can make sure there's enough room for both. This is 2. That one's a little too far away. So if we do that, and then that, and then this one fits in here, about there. There we go. Oh, that's so cute. Look at how cute that is. I'm loving it. All right, then let's do 10, because 10 is quite a bit bigger. And 9, we've already got 10. Where's 11? There's 11. These guys are bigger. I think that will work. Okay. So we have about the same distance around. Ooh, I'm starting to sweat. Now these guys I have to trim down again. So let's do all the trimming first. I decided to remove a whole bunch of this section because it's just a direct repeat of what I've done for the upper half of the clock, and I don't think it's necessary to show you that all again. Last two numbers. This has been a little stressful, I have to say. That looks pretty good, I think. So we're going to try that. Okay, and then this guy is going to go right here. There we go. There is our clock for all intents and purposes. All right, so this we just need to now finish up. And I need my X-Acto knife for this. I am going to carefully trim around the outside edge. So I don't want to cut the paper that's already there. I just want to cut off the paper that I don't want to see. And I'm just kind of going around. Okay. All right. So for the most part, it's okay. There's a couple of spots where I cut in too deep. So I am going to probably finish this somehow with maybe a bead of colored 3D glossy dots of some sort, just to finish that edge a little bit nicer. Now this is the scary part. So I am going to just like make a cut. Make sure you don't go all the way down because you don't want to cut the glass that's underneath. Okay, make sure you don't cut the glass that's underneath, and I'm just going to kind of take away a section of it. There we go. Did I cut the glass? I hope I didn't. Being very careful not to go far down. Okay, no glass cutting. Perfect. So you want to be very careful not to go so far down that you're going to cut the glass. And you're just going to go in and cut that edge. When you get here, you have to be very careful. There we go. And then we can do the same thing here. And a little bit on the surface there. And you just mess around with it until your edge is nice and clean. Isn't that the cutest thing? Now, I'm not going to put this together right now, but literally all you do is just pop, well, maybe I will, but I'm going to take it apart again as well because it needs to have the glass cleaned. Or maybe I'll just do that really quickly. I'll be right back. Okay, the inside is clean. Not worrying about the outside at the moment. We're just going to pop this together very carefully. Lining up our lines at the back. Whoops, that's why it's not going in. Side thingies. There we go. There we go. Snap that shut. Snap that shut. Okay, so there's the clock. Oh my God, it is so cute. I've got some glue I have to clean away on the outside, but I'm not worried about the outside right now. Let's put that battery in wherever it went. Oh, there it is. And negative goes there. There we go, because I was trying to do it the wrong way. And the time is 4:07 where I am right now. And you always want to go the direction of the clock, because otherwise you can screw up the mechanism. There we go. And there is your working Disney. I really do have to do something with the bottom here. So there's your clock, your finished clock. Isn't it the cutest thing? Oh my gosh, and there's dimension in there and everything. I love it. And the sentiment can be seen. Even the smallest one can change the world. How cute is that? It's crazy cute. All right, so that is it for me this week. I hope you enjoyed this project. It's a little out of my wheelhouse and a little out of our general using up scraps, although we did use up scraps. And if you enjoyed it, please share it with your friends, and I will see you next week. Bye.